Okay, we didn't read the verse 9 last time, right? That's where we are. So I'm going to do the prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So we are going to read verse 9. And basically he was talking about that how the fire is one, but whichever name and form it expresses through, its name and form changes. And we saw that how different fires, fire is in our body also, fire is in our kitchen, wherever you see, but uska roop alag alag hai, So that's the point he's trying to make, that it's the same Atma, how it expressed differently, but at the core of it, it is one only. That's the whole idea that we went in detail about fire, and then on we can read. Any volunteers? Sushil ji. Oh, Naresh, you want to read? Yeah, please do. You have to unmute yourself, yeah.
It's page 246, right?
Yeah, my page is different. It says verse...
Yeah, it's 214. 246.
246, okay. So maybe another book, it is just as fire. Is that how it starts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So go ahead.
Just as fire, after it has entered the world, though one assumes different forms according to the shape it enters, so does the eternal Atman of all living beings, through though one takes a form according to each shape it enters, and also in itself it exists beyond them.
Yeah.
Of the 108 accepted Upanishads, there is none so melodiously poetical for his mellifluous words, his rhymes and rhythms, and for execute poetic ideas and pictures as Kathoupanishad is. It would be safe commentary to say that Kathoupanishad is a touchstone for both poetry and philosophy in Sanskrit literature. In no other language in the world have we such magnanimous flights of human thoughts expressed in such breathless poetry. In Kathoupanishad, we have a love of kindling ardor, where poetry quotes successfully her paramour philosophy.
So you can imagine, I had to sit with a dictionary in here too. There are so many beautiful, it's like a poetry in itself. Because Swamiji was a journalist and he was very well versed in English language. And then he learned Sanskrit and he knew Hindi and maybe his own Tamil and all whatever languages. So he can just see the beauty. We may not be able to see that, but people who have studied all these different languages can see. And then you saw that I don't know how to, chant these things the way these Mahatmas do. But there is, when you chant also, there is like a poetic thing comes out. So he actually could probably see the poetry and philosophy put together. Because उसमें ना बोलते ना हिंदी में बोलते ना चार चांद लग जाते हैं, And then
This is the first time I've read this word mellifluous.
Yeah, mellifluous is sweetly smooth flowing and smooth sounding is called. That's the meaning of mellifluous. I think Meera ji must be enjoying this very much. So she's a professor of English, right? Meera ji, yes. So you know the sentiments of Swamiji here, yes.
The mantra under discussion is an ample evidence to prove the truth of our previous statements. The same colored fluid in a flat bottle would look long, and in a flask it would look spherical. Because of the different shapes, we cannot label the same fluid differently. Similarly, the dynamic life center remaining the same, it illuminates different forms. The forms are different, but the spiritual substance is universally the same.
So basically, he's saying that at koi bhi panch mahabhut le lo, it is like different at, it's the same at the core, but when it expresses through different things, it looks different. So, because sometimes somebody can have that question, how one Atma can be same in all of them. So he's giving the worldly example. Because this we have, it's very easy for us to relate that इन्होंने अपना पानी का भी दिया कि भाई एक same H2O if you put in different bottles, the water itself does not have any shape, right? It takes the shape of where you put it. And also you can add no color, So it has no color. Whatever color you add, it takes up that color. But at the core, it is just one. That's what it's saying.
The electric current that passes through a fan, a bulb, a refrigerator, and a heater is certainly the same, although because of the difference in the instruments through which it passes, it manifests itself differently as air, light, cold, heat, and so on. The Atma Tattva similarly remains the same in spite of different makeup of the different minds that it comes to function through. Its manifestations are of different forms. Thus, it is that you are not me, nor am I you. Because my mind is constituted differently from yours, yet our Atman is the same.
So I think we have hashed this out a lot. So, but still, I think the electric example is even the better one because same electricity gives exactly opposite results. If it goes through the AC, it gives you cold air and it goes to heater. And sometimes they have the same instrument in the one machine only, right, in these days. So that tells you that how, and here, Meeraji, this is your answer over here, that the same Bhagwan is in everybody. Some are expressing because of their mind, anger and frustration, and others are expressing love and this. In fact, किसी ने बोला कि जो वो लोग atheist लोग बोलते हैं ना, वो कौन सा भगवान कोई नहीं है, like the Charvakas, or we come from nowhere, we go nowhere, this is one life and all that. It's saying the fact that they are saying it also because of that Brahman. Otherwise they can't even say that. So that's what it is, that is bringing out that point that when we see the difference, it's only in the matter. The difference is only in the matter, not in that consciousness.
Ahiska, beyond also, pure consciousness, the all-pervading truth, certainly presides over every form, vitalizing every cell in them, but adds the Shruti. Truth is not limited to cover only the area or the extent occupied by the manifested life.
So this word in the verse, Bahishta, it will come again in the next verse also, very, very important word, because it tells you that the consciousness is outside the matter also. There are two things it tells, and this Upanishad is going to clarify both. One is that, hey, its presence is beyond your manifestation of this cosmos, and it does not get affected by the matter. Though both the points are there, but here he's focusing more on the fact that it's not limited to just this world, but its presence is outside the manifested world also. Just like, for example, if there is water content in me, it's outside also. Water is also all pervading, or air also. When I breathe in the air, it goes inside me, that becomes my breath, but it has manifestation outside. That's very simple to know, right? Same way, here also apply the same thing.
Life in the millions of universe put together is but, according to the Lord's own words in the Geeta, only a fraction of the divine total. This is indicated by the Shruti, hereby emphasizing that truth, absolute, and not only pervades every visible form and the invisible world, but also transcends them and them all. In short, the supreme reality is at once immanent and transcendent.
So these two words are used a lot in Vedanta, eminent and transcendent. Eminent means when we see Bhagwan or Brahman in everything, that's eminent, because without that it cannot exist. And transcendent, beyond also it exists. And I was going to just say that now the scientists, these people who study cosmology and all that, they are coming to the conclusion there are multiverses. पहले तो वेस्ट में था कि भाई अर्थ इज द सेंटर ऑफ द यूनिवर्स, ये वो सर्टन काइंड ऑफ क्रेजी थियरीज. बाद में उनको पता चला सोलर सिस्टम के बारे में, फिर बोला नो नो वी आर पार्ट ऑफ लाइक द गैलेक्सी. फिर बोला देयर इज ओनली वन गैलेक्सी. देन दे फाउंड आउट millions of billions, not millions, my god. Now that picture has come, whoever is interested in the subject, they have put a telescope and they can see those galaxies are looking so many hundreds of them you saw, and they said that that picture that they showed, it's like looking at one grain of sand of universe, and usme itni sari galaxies dikhai de rahi hai. Then they now there is a new theory that hey there are multiverses. यूनिवर्स भी एक नहीं है, पैरेलल यूनिवर्स, पता नहीं क्या क्या वगैरह वगैरह. अभी वो लोग अपने शास्त्रों में पहले ही बोल दिया उन्होंने कि इट इज देयर. एंड देन इतना भी बोल दिया कि द कॉन्शियसनेस इज इवन बियॉन्ड दिस मल्टीवर्सेस. हाउ फार दे गोइंग. So that's how, to me, this was very fascinating when I read that, because it's somebody had sent some kind of video about it, about multiverse theory, that how they are trying to prove it now. So this is what it is over here. Any question or comment?
Yeah, they are saying now there are people, living in millions of years ago. Also, there were people living in the galaxies, and they're also, they have now taken human form, and they are living on Earth, and they have a different purpose, in the Earth. So there are so many things out there in the internet. And one more thing, coming back to Meera about this, people who are nasty, is, we have to understand why they are nasty. If you really look into that they're unhappy from inside, that's why, they're throwing out pain to others. So if you can understand where their unhappiness comes from, and I don't know whether we should be able to solve it or help them, understand it, then they'll, become better persons, I think.
No, that's a very good point. No, it is definitely a good point.
Yeah, Sneh, that's a very good point, I think. Very workable solution, I think.
Unhappy from inside, yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be some reason, why they behave the way they do. So instead of just...
they have built up grudges, they're living in the past, that's what it is.
And sometimes when we look at ourselves, before we started contemplating upon all those things, we may have had those similar kind of traits also.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So it's just doing our self-analysis. And then I think there is a very famous saying which is I don't know exactly the words, but I will, if somebody knows, they can share it. I think it was Mother Teresa who said that if somebody is being nasty, you still be nice to them and all. And there are about 10 things, and in the end it says it's between you and God anyway. It was never between you and them. I love that saying. Somebody had shared it with me. If I find it, I will share it. That gives us a lot of something to work with, all these great people when they kind of give these kind of tips to us. Because it's hard out there, for sure. But that's what the whole spirituality is about, right? We have to increase our compassion and, what you call patience with everyone. And sometimes if we lose it, compassion and, patience, we have to forgive ourselves too. They don't say, oh my God, I'm not improving and this and that. But just the thought that comes to our mind, hey, I have to be better, that also is pretty big thing, right? Because otherwise people keep justifying their anger and frustration and keep pointing the fingers to that person is making me. Like that Sadhguru always says, right? That what happens in your own head, you should have a control over it. Why other people need to get into your head? That's what we are doing usually. If we are having other people get our psyche affected, we are having other people get into our head.
I think the length of anger or length of frustration and the intensity of the frustration is very important too, right?
Of course.
By doing these lectures and by having your support here, it would minimize the length, reduces the length of your inner disturbance of the frustration you brought it out. And at the same time, you can solve this and be back to normal in minutes rather than in hours.
Very good point. Yes.
Yeah, so that is more important. And at the same time, your intensity, maybe the first intensity would be very strong intensity, but the next moment, within 5 seconds, you right away realized that I should not be doing this because I'm getting more in a spiritual path. And that second intensity would be much, much less than that. While the ordinary man who is not in the path, they will keep on going with the same intensity of frustration to the others, right there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think excellent point, because that's what that's why I was saying that sometimes we may say, oh, I'm not improving, but if your intensity has gone down and your threshold has reduced, then obviously that you are on the right path. And one day,
Right.
बोलते हैं ना कि वो सहज बन जाता है. Like, there are always people we come across very shant kind of people. Nothing disturbs them, and we admire them so much. So because they have probably done that sadhana for many janmas, to get there.
Yeah.
True.
Bharat is that example right there.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, your husband is that example. Very comfortable.
I'm glad you think that way.
No, he's listening, so he better.
Yeah, he's
right?
listening. Yeah.
Yeah, with all due respect, right?
Nice.
But Teresa quotation, the exact quotation, it says, in the final analysis, it is between you and God.
Mm-hmm.
It was never between you and them
Anyway, right. It's such a beautiful. But the other thing that precedes is also very, very beautiful. It's like same thing like Swamiji said, poetry and philosophy together put in that whole thing. Yeah.
Like in the Hindu philosophy, they say, Guru और तुम सच्चे हो, बाकी सब है कहानियाँ.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. True. Okay, so we can go to the next one.
In our study group previously, when I was in Virginia, they said the coordinator said FIR, the frequency, intensity, and recovery. That's how you judge it. How often that occurs and how intensity, as Mukesh just said, exactly the same thing. And recovery. So he put it, I had to remember FIR. That's how we go.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Yeah.
The first information.
So,
Right.
Right.
Because if we don't think about these things, then as you get older, some people ज़्यादा चिड़चिड़े हो जाते हैं, ज़्यादा irritable हो जाते हैं, जैसे जैसे वृद्ध अवस्था में पहुंचते हैं. It should be opposite, right? You should become more mellow.
very good. Very good.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we are doing this.
And if physiologically, if you think that
It's easy to say when you're 65, but when you grow older, every part of your body starts hurting.
So we got to practice now, na? So when it hurts, we don't become चिड़चिड़ा, right? जो practice ही नहीं करेंगे तो तभी तो कुछ नहीं होगा. Yeah. मेरा, I may be 65, मेरा भी शुरू हो गया है अभी सब कुछ. दुखना, pain. I'm getting the dose of it already.
It's better to realize now.
Yeah.
So you can think of it, this is the body's going through this. I am not.
Yes.
I'm okay. Because that's what,
And even with the body, like if you have to keep doing yoga and all those things, the pain and all, you can manage a lot better.
Yes.
Oh,
So sometimes it's hard to do.
The pain is a mental construct. Pain is not there out there because your mind, your nerve is identify that as a pain. That is the reason you feel the pain, right? If you pick a finger to your very soft finger, it will hurt. But if you are a worker who is working with the woods and has a very rough hands, and if you prick the finger, it won't hurt him, So it's a question of how you take pain is It's intensity, and for there your mental strength is important. And this kind of programs like you are performing or helping us is giving you a mental strength. Once you have mental strength, and you can be able to diversify your thought process instantly to some other area of spirituality, you are thinking less of a pain. It's like having a grandkid come to your door, you can start running even though your knee is hurting. But it's as simple as that.
Yeah, very nice
pain
example.
Becomes secondary, and your love for your grandkid is primary. So you see, up to you to make secondary the pain.
I will say that's scary. Because if you really are spiritual, you are in that mode that you are as is. You don't say, I'm going to divert, I'm not going to divert.
That's a very, very highest level, Joe, true. But I think that what he's making a point is a very good one, because even in the modern psychology now, they say that there are pain ka two components. One is physical and one is a mental. And mental component is a very big one. If it's 10% physical, is 90% mental, because you keep thinking about it and don't divert and things like that. And अगर शास्त्रों ने बोल दिया कि शरीर का धर्म में उसमें पेन आने ही वाला है, so then you just accept it and like you divert it. True, very, very. If you
analyze what pain is, you actually understand what pain is. First of all, either there's inflation in that area, so you really need to move your body, or you need to move that part. So when the muscles are stiff, then the pain is there. So how do you eliminate that inflation, and how do you so there is no circulation in that area. That's why the pain is there. So you need to move that part of the body, and then the pain also will go away.
See, what happens when you age is you don't have much to do. And so you concentrate more on the pain and you feel it more. Mm-hmm. If you are busy doing other things, you don't feel the pain. I'll give you an instance. If I get a headache, I ignore it and it just goes away. I don't know when it went, when it came. But there are people who will take tablets after tablets. I have pain. They keep concentrating. It gets worse.
Yeah. So I think all of you are giving very good tips. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, chalo, let's go to verse 10 now. This was very good tips from all the seniors. Okay, here is verse 10. This is I'm trying to think how to say this, because I heard it, but now it's not coming to me. Vayuryatho bhuvanam pravishto rupam pratirupo babhuva ekastatha sarva bhutantaratma rupam pratirupo bahischa. Okay, I think a little bit I got it. So Vayu is air, yatha just as, ekaha one single, bhuvanam world, pravishtaha having entered, Rupam, different forms. Pratirupa, according to the shapes, it enters respective forms. Babhuva becomes or takes. Eka again is one. Tatha is thus. Sarva bhuta antaratma, the inner Atman of all beings. Rupam, different forms. Pratirupaha, according to whatever he enters. Bahi is outside. Cha is also, so bahishcha, the same word. So this is exactly the same thing. I guess the reason Yamraji repeated this, because this was very significant to understand, because if we can understand this, we will also can apply the same thing to Atma. So he's using, exactly same thing. First he uses as Agni as a example, and now he's using Vayu as an example. That's all he's doing.
Water and now Vayu.
Water and then electric current. And now...
Yeah, but in the verse itself, it was Agni. So Swami Ji ne uska diya tha कि you can take other elements, and even Tejamanandi said the same thing. But in the verse 9, he had mentioned Agni. And then now he's mentioning Vayu. But what I want to say is that when they talk about only two things, we have to automatically take all five, because, in the what you call Vedanta or on these Upanishads, they give you sutras, and then you have to expand it on your own. So whatever you're saying is true, but it's only mentioned as these two. We can take all five, and Tejamanandi said the same thing. So now take the Vayu, that even though we understand, but we can analyze a little more, so it'll sink a little bit deeper in us. that the Vayu has also entered the whole world because it's all pervading. When those people go up in this space station, they will tell you there's a thin layer of atmosphere. From their perspective, it's thin and delicate around the world, our world, and that's the Vayu. And he's saying that now every living being uses the Vayu, right? Including the plants. They take in, CO2, give oxygen. So they may take a part of it. We also take oxygen. We take the Vayu inside us, and then it pulls out the oxygen from it, our system. So, but if you look at the Vayu, I can call it my Vayu, but it is a part of the whole thing. Like somebody was saying, that moment you exhale, it becomes a part of the whole thing. You can't own a Vayu. You can do kind of your country ka boundary bana sakte hai. Vayu ko koi nahi pakad sakta aise ki bhai, it is still same one. So he's saying that, okay, even balloon you see, that he's saying that बचपन से सभी को मालूम है, सब बढ़ते में हम लोग बलून यूज़ करते हैं कि बलून को ब्लो करते हैं. So क्या कर रहे हैं हम लोग, बाहर की वायु है उसको पहले अपने अंदर ली, made it our own, फिर उसको बलून में भरी, फिर वो बलून की वायु बन गई. And he's saying that वो बलून, somebody doesn't know कि कितना उसमें डालना है. There are two things, scenarios. One कि वो फूक मारता जा रहा है, अंदर कुछ भर ही नहीं रहा है. That also is possible. चलो भर गया तो उसको ये नहीं मालूम कि कब स्टॉप करना, तो वो बलून फट हो गया, फिर वो वापस मिल गई हवा सब में. He was just telling you that how the air can travel anywhere, but it can be my air, balloon's air, but in the end it is sarva vyapak. Great example. So then water we already saw. And he's saying that even same thing he repeated over here, but we saw it in the previous one, that you can put a water in the glass or a jug or a bucket or a pond. It can be less water, more water, where water goes, it takes that shape, because water itself doesn't have any shape. And now we know about Holi in India. You can have, 7 rangon ka pani alag, but it is just one water. So same way that, this fire you can take, that we already went in detail. And then space, also exactly the same thing. You have a space in the pot. It looks like a pot space, room space, hall space. Somewhere it's big, somewhere it's small. But space has no limitation. Entire universes are in space. Okay, so here same way we have to look at. And then he also talked about Pranavayu, and that bhajan group that we went to. Kamalaji spoke. Kamalaji is not here today. She spoke very, very nicely, explained about this Vayu. So he was saying, Tejamanand said, एक वायु को अंदर लिया, वो 5 में परिवर्तित हो गई. प्राण, अपान, व्यान, उदान, समान, everything. Imagine कितने variation हो जाता है. And even अपने शास्त्रों में he was reminding us that we even call Vayu as a pratyaksh Brahma only, that, उसको नमस्कार करते हैं, because it is giving us life. Through Brahman it's coming, but through Vayu we are getting this life. So many different things. And then same way that, it's in all the bodies, different bodies, but it is still one. Same way Atma is in everybody, but it is one only. So it's very simple one, this one, nothing much to it. But the next one is going to be, so Tejamanand is very funny. He's saying that people will like, ठीक है, एक ही Atma. But, if I look at Atma mujh mein hai, a portion of it bol do, ya, it's expressing through me, so it's my Atma. तो कभी-कभी हम लोग हिंदी लैंग्वेज में भी ऐसा यूज करते हैं ना, मेरी आत्मा को बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है. It's like as though Atma is getting affected, right? There's some feeling we get that, hey, my body is also not very clean inside. Atma is getting affected. And then my mind has so many bad thoughts, and maybe Atma is getting affected. So he's saying, Bichari Atma ko kya haal hota hoga, something. Maybe some people have that question. So that's going to be answered in the next verse. This is going to say that, give a worldly example, just like they gave worldly example here of Vayu and air and space and all that. They're going to give another worldly example to understand that it does not get contaminated by anything. So from that perspective, we have to feel so happy that I have something within me. No matter how much I try to ruin it, it's not going to get ruined. So maybe I have to stop trying to do that. Anyway, that's what the next verse will be coming. This is very short paragraph. Somebody who never reads can read this now. Firstly, do you have any more question or comment on this kind of thing that we are doing?
Since I started the 9th, I can just finish it up with just one paragraph.
Okay, that's fine.
Because since nobody volunteered, you.
If you want to, then you have to quickly raise your hand. Here, Geeta ji, you want to do it? Yes, please. Yeah, Geeta ji will do it.
I was about to do it now. Geeta can do it next time.
Okay, theek hai.
Just as air, after it has entered the world, though one assumes different forms according to the shape it enters, so the eternal Atman of all living beings, though one, assumes forms according to each shape it enters, and in itself, it exists beyond them also.
Okay.
Here is another beautiful comparison to explain the same oneness of truth that was indicated in the previous mantra. Instead of fire, Lord Death is explaining the same truth with the example of Vayu. Whether it be horse, a donkey, or a man, creeper, or a fig tree, all live upon the same vital air, oxygen. Similarly, whatever be the name and shape of the objects in the universe that we may cognize, they are all presided over by the same non-dual truth essence. Since this stanza is a close repetition of the previous one, given out by the Shruti for the purpose of emphasis, we satisfy ourselves with just hinting at the beauty contents of it.
So yeah, he didn't give any elaborate expression because I think they have hammered it enough, right? We all understood that all 5 elements are a very good example. That it's possible to have it all different expression and division and all that, but in essence it is one. So that way we should not have a difficulty in understanding that Brahman is the one only, like expressing and then technically speaking, when it expresses through us, we call it Atma. And then when it's entirely everything together, we call it Paramatma. So in essence, Atma and Paramatma is the same.
I was just going to say about the element air, since it's everything is considered of only 5 elements, and one of them is air anyway. So air is everywhere. I mean, it's not just one place because of the 5 elements.
Mm-hmm. Air is everywhere, true.
So it's so it's not in any shape also. I mean,
correct.
So.
You can't confine it to a particular shape because of the gravity. The atmosphere is like that, so looks round around the earth. But if you take it somewhere else, it will be somewhere whatever. Mm-hmm.
Even the inert matters, since they are made up of the 5 elements, so the air would be in there.
Exactly, it is. Like there are whatever, I don't know about, I don't want to get into the science because I don't know it very well, but कोई पत्थर को भी आप डालोगे ना कभी पानी में तो कभी कभी एयर बबल्स आते हैं उसमें से, right?
है ना? Some of them,
yeah. So at the elemental level, it is literally all pervading.
Yes.
Yeah. Even fire is like at a dormant state, but fire is in everything. That's why anything can burn. Everything can burn. Because it's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
See, those are the things we don't deeply think about it, but the moment we start thinking, we understand what the Vedanta is saying.
Right. Yeah.
I
mean, the fire again is different. I mean, fire in us.
Yeah, and we think about it. We cannot live without any one element goes crazy. We cannot live in our body.
Yeah,
Dehydration से तो सीधा ही death हो जाएगी. If you have water content goes down, we cannot function. वायु निकल गई, boom, nothing. हाँ, और जब आदमी ठंडा हो गया उसका body, if it goes below a certain temperature, you dead. body cannot function. And earth's element to hai, and space you cannot. Space is all pervading. So.
Yeah, what you said is true, because when you rub two stones or when you rub two sticks, you are able to produce fire. Mm-hmm. There is an element of friction, and because of that you can heat.
Yeah.
And if you have a very, very high heat, anything will start burning and melting. Right? Yeah. So it has a potential inside.
अपने जो ये थे तानसेन वगैरह थे, they could burn lamps.
Yeah, and because they had the siddhi,
so they could even through their singing and the music, they could invoke the elements.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Absolutely. And we know sound can shatter windows.
Yeah.
Some big boom happens, like it can shatter windows. Yeah.
The sonic boom does it.
Yep. Or either, I don't know if you guys heard it, there were 2-3 such loud booms over here near. I could hear, and I couldn't see any plane. I think it must be some kind of a military plane that I couldn't even see them. But it was such a big noises came 2-3 last evening. I was on the beach, and it was, my goodness, really loud.
What time was it? Is it the fireworks?
No. Fireworks, I know. Fireworks we can see from our house. You're talking about the SeaWorld fireworks, right? Yeah, no, that was not that. It was this kind of loud noise of some kind of पहले ज़माने में not पहले ज़माने में Concorde होता था ना, उसकी जैसे when he takes off, it's a big sonic boom like that I heard, 2-3 times. Anybody has any other point for these verses of Gita in this?
I remember an example from Satcharita. It's a book on Shirdi Sai Baba's life.
Uh-huh.
And in there is a character by the name of Lakshmi Bai. She does a lot for Sai Baba.
Mm-hmm.
So one evening, when she is visiting with Sai Baba, he says, "I'm very hungry. Can you bring me some food?" So she was tired. It was evening, but she went home. And in those days, to cook meal was a big deal, because you have to chule mein lakdi lagao and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So she made fresh roti and sabji and brought it to Sai Baba. And there was a dog sitting there. And Sai Baba gave all the sabji and roti to that dog.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman got very upset that, "Baba, I went all the way home and took so much pain to cook this food for you, and you gave it to the dog." And he said, "Don't you see that the hunger of this dog is the same as me? And the satisfaction of eating that food in that dog is the same as me.
Interesting.
So I feel so satisfied that I'm now belching, Food was so good." So basically, I think they're saying the same thing in that example that we just read.
Yeah, no, very beautiful, yeah. True. Sometimes we have a hard time understanding, but once we see what Krishna Bhagavan is saying, we understand where he was coming from.
Yeah.
When he did that. Yes. True. Yeah, so obviously for us, we sometimes feel this is a very hi-fi, and even Arjun felt the same way. So that's okay. But at least we know the goal, and we have to just slowly try to get there. Even if all the tips that everybody gave each other, how to deal with difficult people and all, that's part of it, right? We're trying to get there, even if I'm not there, even if I make small kind of improvements, I should give a pat on the back and say, yeah, maybe, or the threshold gets better of my frustration and anger, even that's better than nothing.
Umaji, every second we spend in discussions like this, we are moving towards our goal.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a similar story like with Anilji in Vrindavan. There was a great devotee, and he wanted to go and see, Krishna and he never used to eat food before offering it to Krishna. So he goes to the Rang Bihari Mandir, and there's a crowd, and the Pandit says, "Tum chale jao yahan se." And so वो बेचारा बिना दर्शन किए हुए वो कृष्ण भगवान को, उसके पास सूखे चने होते हैं, वही भगवान को भोग लगाकर वो अपना सो जाता है. फिर जब पंडित सुबह उठता है, भगवान को भोग देता है, तो भगवान बोलते हैं मेरा तो पेट भरा हुआ है, मेरे तो आज एक्चुअली मेरे को तो वो दो पान खिलाओ, ये हींग की गोली दो, बिकॉज मैंने चने खाए हैं और वो मेरा है ना पेट गड़बड़ हो रहा है. सो देन ही रियलाइजेस कि भगवान का पेट चने किसने खिलाए. फिर जब उसको वो देखता है, वो सुबह वो जिसको उसने भगाया था वो आदमी को, उसके पीछे जाकर वो पड़ता है, पैर पे पड़ता है, बोल रहा है कि आपने तो आप तो रियली भगवान के इतने क्लोज हो, और मैंने आपको मैं मूर्ख ने आपको मना कर दिया भगवान के दर्शन करने के लिए. So आपके लिए हमेशा दरवाजा खुला ये. So that's the thing is, if you are so devoted, you're one with God, and as like Sai Baba was one with God, this dog's hunger. So when the dog fed, that he started belching. It's the same thing, when the devotee eats, in opposite to God, so God also eats.
Yep. And like we may have a very, very hard time believing some of these stories, but if now that we understood at elemental level, everything is coming from Brahman, and if somebody connects to that Brahman, can do any kind of thing. We may call it miracle from our perspective, but for that person it's not, because he is in tune with that Brahman. So ये साई बाबा की मैंने एक और भी स्टोरी ये सुनी है, बड़ी फेमस वन, दैट शुरू में ना वो आए थे वहाँ पे गांव में, and nobody knew who he was. They didn't know he was Muslim or he was Hindu or anybody. And he had a very kind of जिसको बोलते हैं ना फकीर type of get up. So then other people thought, oh, पता नहीं कौन है, And then one time he wanted some tail to do the diya. So right, Anil ji, you have heard this, right? उन्होंने तेल मांगा गांव वालों से, और गांव वालों ने उनको दिया नहीं तेल. तो फिर ना उन्होंने पानी डाल दिया उसमें दिए में, और उसको जलाया, और वो जल गया. And somebody saw it, and then they went and told everybody that, my God, what you are thinking है कि एवाई कोई है, he is actually a great siddha purush, and he's like, and that's how they became his devotee. That was the first indication. And he was doing it very सहजता थे. वो भगवान को बोल रहे थे, भगवान कोई मेरे को तेल नहीं दे रहा है, मुझे आपके लिए दिया जलाना है, तो मैं पानी डाल देता हूँ, आप इसी को जला दो. और जल गया वो. कोई बोलेगा कि that's not possible and all that. But like I've heard even others very similar story, and that will probably prove it, and that was of Satya Sai Baba. That he was having, because I read one book about him, that one geologist was having a discussion with him. And he was a PhD in geology, so he was like arguing with him or something and all that. And Satya Sai Baba took one stone and he did some in his hand, and he said, ये क्या है? बोला stone है. So then उन्होंने अपना कुछ ऐसा किया, मुट्ठी बंद की और खोला, and it turned into some sugar. And he said, okay, now eat it. And he ate, and it was sugar. So he was shocked. रह गया वो. How did that happen? How did you do that? So he said, you are a scientist, right? So he said, yeah. I said, okay, tell me what is in this rock. So उसने पहले बोला कि भाई ये rock यहाँ से आया है, जो भी उसका composition था, earthly, right? He said, no. What is deeper in it? So then he said, oh, there are some molecules and all that. Fir deeper, okay, there is atoms. Fir deeper, okay, neutron, proton, ये वो सब उसने बता दिया. तो बोला ना उसके बाद क्या है उसमें? So he said, I don't know. So he said, God. So he said, hey, once you go to that level, you can change the thing. And a similar verse is going to come in Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't say in this many words, because ये सूत्र form में होता है सब कुछ. But उसका जो explanation वही है कि the more you connect to God, you become God, right? That's why you can do all those things. Yes. And even when you read the autobiography of Yogi, he said that he was actually capable of doing a lot of things, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to interfere in people's karmic thing, cycle. Otherwise, these saints and sages are capable of doing.
But he did float mangoes on the ocean.
He did a lot of things in the beginning, but as he became more higher, and when he became the guru of people, in his own experiment, he did that many times. In the beginning only, the book only starts with his sister was saying कि वो मेरे को पतंग काट के दे दो, मैं मानूंगी तेरे को कुछ है. And he got that patang, and all kinds of stories are there. But as he became a guru himself, he didn't want to interfere in people's lives. But that doesn't mean they're not capable of. But then it is up to us for not asking for petty things from them. You know?
And Anilji, what is the relation between Lakshmi Bai and Sai Baba?
Lakshmi Bai, which the one who was a queen?
No, not Lakshmi, the one who gave the food to Sai Baba every day.
Oh.
She was just an householder.
No. In the previous birth, she was his mother.
Oh, I see.
Oh, interesting.
That I did not know.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So that's why, that relationship was there in this earth also.
Yeah. So a lot of these miracle stories are there, but we find them very hard to imagine. But once you start reading Vedanta and you kind of contemplate on these core things, then you realize that it is possible. When we read the whole Bhagavad Gita and then you come back and read Autobiography of Yogi, you'll believe in it a lot more. On the surface, it looks so impossible. So I'm going to close over here, and then we can have some other discussion if anybody wants to. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah. Hari Om.